Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where I am back not with a Tobot, but with a Young Toys toy. So, same company as Tobots. There's a lot to it, so give me a second. The Mecha Captain Dino, I think 03 is a part of the name, Stegotank, from a not Tobot series put out by, I guess, Young Toys, called Captain Dino, which was, I think, an offshoot or a follow-up season to Mecha. And as far as I understand it, the main, I guess you could say, gimmick of Mecha is you've got characters / toys that have a kind of emblem mode or shape mode, animal mode, and then a robot mode. This is clearly Stegotank's shape mode, and I'm pretty sure you can guess what the animal mode is. Now, the reason I have this guy laying down like this as opposed to upright like this is because this bit sticking out of the bottom here just makes it so that it cannot stand properly. If I do, it leans way forward. So to keep it straight, I'm just going to have it like this. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to the shape mode. It's, what is this, 7, so, septagon? I don't know. A 7-sided thing. I don't really know why they chose the shapes they did, but yeah. And also, in case you all might, by chance, be wondering if I'm going to be doing more of these, I have Brachiocannon, which is 04, I believe, but I have no interest whatsoever in any of the other Captain Dino toys because I just don't particularly like the look of the others. It's pretty much just this guy and Brachiocannon. So, sorry if you want to see all of them. But anyway, Stegotank's shape mode is this thing, and his primary colors are blue, silver, black, and red. Obviously, blue is the big one. And you can totally see a folded up thing in the in the back and sides there. But from the front, it works pretty well. It's like a nice, chunky, solid thing, too. It's silly, but I appreciate the fact that it does this because in the event that we end up moving, it'll be really easy to just turn him into this mode to pack him. So I appreciate that. And from the front, you know, not a lot to it, but it looks pretty good. I like the detailing on here. The nice silver border around the outside with a bit of a paint scratch there. I'm not sure if it came like that or if that's from me transporting it in my bag when I brought it home from work. A little scratch there, which is unfortunate, but not a huge deal. And this nice blue for the Stegosaurus skeleton. It's just some nice little texture in here, which, yeah, it's a dark color, but it's deep enough that you get some nice lines showing up when the light hits it. And then the red and gold here with the 03, and even the, it's hard to tell, but even, like, I can feel it, the 03 is raised slightly. So there's a lot of nice texture going on with this shape mode. And since he is just a shape, the size comparisons are gonna be pretty quick, because really, it's just a block. Here it is with Siege Hound, and you can see that Siege Hound is tiny compared to this thing. I don't necessarily know how you would categorize this as a size because it's just a block. It's, you know, there's no real alt mode comparison or robot mode comparison to make here currently, but it's a decent size. But I will say he actually compacts quite nicely. He's going to get a lot bigger when we get to the other modes. Anyway, just in case you're curious, there he is with Hound in robot mode. And of course, gotta do the Duck Tank. Alright, so being a Young Toys offering this time around, it's relatively simple, kind of in line with the Tobots, so I'm actually going to do the transformation not sped up to just kind of go through it because, well, both because it's on the simple side and because there aren't a whole lot of English language videos of these things currently. So, with that said, we will remove the plate. And that just pops right off there. And for some reason, this thing on the inside here does not like to stay in place once I pop this on. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, we just want to remove this And the rest of this can go off to the side into the garbage or wherever. No, we're not going to throw it out. And this will just fold up like so. And that will go off to the side for later. All right. And now, I think the best place to start would be unclip these. Bring them out a little bit. And turn them down just a click, because basically it's not necessary to do this, but I'm doing it because it gives me a little bit more room up here. So I can rotate these and pull them up. Because bet you know what these are going to become. And these turn out. And come up. And we'll just have them up like that. I'll adjust them more when we get to the Stegosaurus mode proper. Then down here, gotta fold these in so that they get out of the way of all the limbs that are going to be crashing around them. Then this turns down, the foot comes down, and then extend that. Same on this side. All right. Then these can come down, and they'll actually stop right up here. Like you can kind of see, it just won't turn past that point. Click it back down and then pull out the foot. Same thing here. Rotate it till it stops. Make sure to click it back in place because it does actually click. And rotate the foot, and then pull out this bit, and I'm going to bring this back. That will clip right onto the end there. And then pull this out. Rotate out the head, open the mouth a little bit, and now just adjust the spines. Not spines, what am I saying? Plates. The plates. We'll adjust the plates. And there we have Stegotank's practically perfect Stegosaurus mode. And I am serious. This Stegosaurus mode is fantastic. It's not super articulated. It's pretty much just move the legs forward. You can move the feet a little bit, and then like the tail and the head can go up and down a little bit. But as just a display piece, this looks great. It looks like a robot Stegosaurus. The color isn't completely accurate to what's shown on the box art, which I think is, I think it's images from the CG model from the show. And I'm thinking I might actually go in and do some painting on my own in the future just to kind of add a few more of those color elements that I see in the promotional imagery. But for now, I feel like this is fine as is. Really, really like this blue and red combo that they've got going. It's a really, really nice combination of colors and shades. A little bit of white is fine. The silvery gray, also good. The dark black / gunmetal bits in there, also really nice. It's just a really nice combination of elements. And I also like that the plates themselves aren't a solid color. It's like red with that kind of textured black surface, kind of very reminiscent of what you get on the front of the symbol here for all of them. And that's pretty darn cool. Looking at him a bit closer, you can see more of the finer details, like little bits inside the foot there, and the toes, and the little dino shins, and the 3 on the calves there, or thighs. I guess this is the calf. I don't know anatomy of four-legged animals. Some nice detailing in there that kind of move this out of the way just to show that off there. 4 legs, kind of the same deal. It's a little nice detail here and there. I really like this black texture, how that kind of breaks up the blue throughout the entire thing. This is the only part that I feel like could do with a little bit more coloring, and I think like there is stuff in there. I feel like if I went in and did some panel lining, that might be all it needs. And of course, you've got the detailing in here. It's almost like springs. The tail has some nice spines. I think maybe a little bit more detailing on the spines would be nice, but it's still cool having like the red spines and the black tip. And I like this red line that you can actually follow it all the way up and along to the head. That's a nice touch. A little bit of silver there, and there you can kind of see in more detail the texturing on the plates. And then this black detailing on the hump and the neck there kind of almost makes it look like wires and tubes that are underneath the metal plating that make up most of the body. And the head is appropriately, adorably beaked. I feel like the lower jaw maybe could have benefited from being like this color so it would blend in with the silver more, but it's okay for what it is. You can see there's a little bit of texturing in there too that could probably do with some panel lining. The eye looks really nice. The cheek looks really nice. I think the head is missing some silver up along here, but I can add that myself. And there's actually a little silver up top there. And yeah, it's a very, very cool Stegosaurus mode that looks super duper hollow from the underside, but you're not supposed to look at it from the underside. It is kind of unfortunate that this side has all the screw holes, but it's not a deal breaker for me. And really, it's just up along here and on the tail that they're really noticeable. So, not a huge problem, but I do kind of wish that... I mean, I'm never a fan of screw holes kind of ruining the aesthetic of a figure, but, you know, it's unavoidable. Anyway, for our size comparisons, here he is with Siege Hound in robot mode, and you can see that he's large. He's large. He's a large, practically perfect robot Stegosaurus. And as always, the duck tank. Alright, that is it for the practically perfect robot Stegosaurus mode, so let us get to that final mode. So there's a little bit more parts forming involved here. I'll just pop off the end of the tail, and I'll just put that off to the side, leave that alone for now. Pop off his back. I find that the easiest way to go about it is to come up from this side first, because it actually unclips from here a little bit easier than here. So give that a little wiggle and pop it out, and then it'll disconnect from back here. There's actually a clip there and these bits that clip in. And we'll just put that off to the side while we deal with these. So for these, we just fold down the plates. Don't have to spin them, just fold them down. Split this apart and open this little door to flip out the bicep and fist, and then close that back up, and there we have an arm. And do the same thing for the other side. And one thing that's important to note when going back into the Stegosaurus or shape mode, you want to do the fist first, then the bicep, because it actually goes over the edge of the fist there at an angle. Granted, very simple transformation, and it's a pretty sturdy toy, so it's not something that will, it's not going to break if you screw it up. Just, that's the order you're supposed to do it in. And now we bring this dude back. So, we are going to tuck the tail in, as usual. So, tuck that in, rotate that around, tuck the head in, rotate that around, and that's that. Now for the Stegosaurus legs, I'm going to straighten the feet out again, like we're going back into the emblem mode. Then unclip these, swing them around until they're straight up and down, and then there's a peg here that'll peg in there, and then a clip that'll work right there. Clip that in. Unpeg, spin, and clip. Then this will go all the way out. And then flip out the heel and flip down the foot. And then I like to do forward one click because it stands a little bit better that way. Otherwise, he's leaning back a bit. All right, and readjust. Now up here, going to straighten out the feet again and then push this button in, which will allow this to slide back in place. Then rotate these up, like so. We're going to bring in the arms, and these will slide right over this. Just make sure you got the correct arms there. I'll just slide in place. Now this is my favorite part of this. Fold out the plates. And then lastly, flip out the robot mode head. And there we have Stegotank in his robot mode, but we are not quite done yet. I won't actually arm him up, but before we get to the looking at everything proper, I'm going to take this bit here, pop out, I guess from this side, pop this out, and then extend it. Bring in this bit here. You can see there's like a little clip system there. Clip that in place. And on the box, it shows it like this, kind of working like a club, but I don't know, I feel like it kind of works better like this, like a spiked axe, like a double-sided thing. I don't know. But anyway, this will become a melee weapon for Stegotank, but we will deal with that in a minute, because first, I just want to bask in the glory that is the design of this robot mode, because this robot mode does look pretty darn awesome. There's a certain kind of almost regalness to it, which I think might be partially due to the blue color. I also really love what's going on with the plates here. And there's something about the way that his shoulders come out with that like silver lining on the sides, the shape of it all, the way it kind of tapers in and then back out, and the way the plates kind of decorate the midsection there. It almost makes me think of like a samurai kimono. I don't know if that's what they were going for, and it's a Korean toy company, so maybe it is, and they just were like, what the heck, let's go for that aesthetic. Maybe it has nothing to do with that, but it just kind of reminds me of that in the way it's presented. But I love this. There's so many interesting things about the way the Stegosaurus folds around to become robot. And yeah, it's a little bit parts formery, but my take on parts forming is, generally speaking, especially because I'm a fan of Sentai stuff, I don't care about parts forming as long as there's no parts leprosy. By which I mean, if a bunch of parts come off and they just go off to the side and you forget about them in one mode or another, that bothers me a lot. But in this case, all of the parts that make up the shape mode, the Stegosaurus mode, the robot mode, they all have a place to go. With the exception of this in Stegosaurus mode. But, there is a but. This is an inoffensive single piece that this little handle bit can still attach to in Stegosaurus mode. So you've got all the extraneous pieces in one spot, and the way this is kind of like a nice flat shape, you could kind of use it as like a display piece in the Stegosaurus mode and just kind of leave it off to the side as like a label or something like that. So having a single piece that's big enough to not be lost off to the side in one mode doesn't bother me. But we're not here to talk about my philosophies on parts forming. But yeah, I love this design, and it's got that same color scheme with the blue and the silver, primarily with like some black and red here and there, and some white in like the biceps and thighs, which I think is actually nice, having the white kind of just in the biceps, thighs, and a little bit on the face. It does that thing that I love that Super Sentai toys do, where a lot of the details here are details that you could see in the Stegosaurus mode, but now that they're moved around and turned in different ways, it gives it an entirely new context. The silhouette's really cool. Posability's not great. Not gonna lie about that, but just aesthetically, this guy looks great. The silhouette is fun, the way he's got that really triangular, like, shoulders coming out and up kind of aesthetic. The slightly larger gauntlets. I'm probably going to talk about how much I love the way the plates fold out to create the deco and the chest region. Probably going to bring that up a lot, but another feature that I actually thought was pretty cool in the way that this guy transforms is the fact that the rear feet for the Stegosaurus, the way they come up, they make knee pads for the lower legs, and it actually works really well. Like, I feel like if you were to look at this, just this bit as like robot leg, you wouldn't even read those as feet. It's really kind of incredible how that works. And, you know, that what was the, I guess, ankle detail in Dino mode now becomes like lower knee or shin detail in robot mode. The O3 is still there, and I like how the way this thing transforms, it's still like, it still reads the same way. Like the O3 is still in the right orientation to be read. There's that nice silver line around the foot. Let's just kind of add some definition. The thighs, they're nondescript, but it doesn't really bother me because they're thighs. Same with the bicep areas up here. The arms are, on one side, they are the outside of the Stegosaurus, but then this bit here just looks nice. And then this whole section here is what really drew me to this figure. It's just really nicely laid out. I love the kind of hourglass motif that's going here. The stark contrasts of colors here with the red and the blue and the black and the silver. It all works really nicely, and this bit that was the Stegosaurus neck now becomes like plated abs. It's so cool how this all comes together. And the shoulders, even without the plates in the way, the shoulders look pretty cool, and how this almost looks like it could be venting. And again, that nice line that goes all the way up. And then the Stegosaurus feet just kind of enhance the shoulder pad. Mostly because you're looking at them from the bottom, so you don't really see the toes. But still, it's very cool how this all comes together. I really, really like this. Can you tell? I also really like the head. I think it's cool how he's got it's totally got the Stegosaurus motif going on with the helmet. It's got that beak, the little spines going up, although in this case it's a single row of plates. I keep calling them spines, but a single row of plates rather than like two. But still, they're there, and they are separated out in red, which is cool. In this case, the eyes are now silver, but I feel like that does make sense because, those are the eyes now. I also kind of like how this bit here, which kind of is what covers this bit up here to keep you from being able to really see the head. I like how that almost looks like a collar behind the neck there. You can see just a little bit more. It almost looks like there are teeth on the lower part here of the bit, obscuring the face slightly, kind of like the mouth is open. I'm not too crazy about that. I feel like that texture doesn't really need to be there because it's a Stegosaurus. It doesn't have teeth. And it may not actually be teeth, but that's kind of what it looks like. The eyes, okay, I don't mind the face. The face looks kind of stern and stoic. And I think it goes with someone who looks kind of like a somewhat buff royal guy who doesn't take any nonsense from anyone. I like the little black down there that kind of looks like he's got a chin beard or a goatee. That's cool. I always appreciate it when bots have a beard similar to mine. The eyes, though, I can appreciate the fact that they seem to be kind of it's hard to tell, but they seem like they're a metallic turquoise almost, or just a very dark turquoise, and that's fine. The thing that bothers me is, in the grand scheme of things, they don't really pop that well. Like, you can still make them out. They do contrast with the white of the face and the light blue of the helmet and the silver. They do stand out. You can see that they're his eyes. I just feel like they need to pop a little bit more. Not a deal breaker by any means, but it would be nice. Now on to his accessories, which are also parts of the shape mode and in some cases parts of the Dino mode. For the extraneous plate cover thing, this actually becomes a shield, and there are pegs, well, not pegs, peg holes here and like a little divot up here, and essentially you want to peg this side in here, so it's kind of like this bit is kind of towards the front, or if you want to peg it on this side, then you want this bit towards the front, just because this leaves you the room that you need for all those folded up plates on the forearm. So you do have options for which arm you want to plug it into. I prefer to just plug it into this one, and it plugs in the way you think it will. You just line it up and plug it in. And it holds on by friction, but it holds on well enough. It's not going to come off. I feel like I could probably, I wouldn't want to carry it like that, but it holds on well enough. And then this thing just slides into the fist as you'd expect. And that is that. Typically when I have this guy displayed, I like to give the bicep with the weapon one little turn just so it stands out a bit. And there we have Stegotank, completely armed up. And actually, since I want to show off the shield a little bit, we'll give that a turn in. There we go. Yeah, I really, really like this guy. It's a simple transformation, absolutely. And there is parts forming. As I said, I'm not bothered by parts forming so long as the parts don't just sit around in all the modes. I actually had my eye on this guy for a while and didn't get him because I was in my, I want everything to be posable phase. I'm not opposed to posability. That's an awkward thing to phrase like that, but you know what I mean. I'm not against that. I feel like posability is cool, but I also have kind of tempered my expectations for what I'm looking for based on what kind of toy it is. $100 third-party figure, yes, posability is nice. In some cases, I would say it's important. Masterpiece figure, yes, posability is important. Deluxe class figure, yeah, certain types of posability I think are important. Big Sentai-like toy that's designed for kids, that's meant to just look cool and be fun to play with and have a relatively simple transformation, I'm not so bothered about limited posability. In my mind, I view these, like the Geomecha, or in this case Captain Dino stuff, the Tobots, Biclones, all that stuff. Generally speaking, I see them more as Sentai. I know they're not Sentai, but just in terms of the toy, I have like Sentai level expectations in terms of what I'm looking for. So, posability, not a huge issue. But anyway, I've rambled on about that long enough. I did talk about him being large, which should not be a surprise. You can all pretty much expect anything with the word Young Toys attached to it is going to be large. But anyway, there he is with Siege Hound, and yeah, he's totally dwarfing Siege Hound. He is what I think you could safely say is larger than a leader class figure, a current leader class, probably larger than a lot of old school leader classes. Not all, but a lot of them. And once more with feeling and possibly breadcrumbs, here he is with the Duck Tank. So yeah, I think that is going to do it for Geomecha Captain Dino 03 Stegotank. I love this guy, and yes, freely admit, posability not great. As I said, I'm more into aesthetics versus articulation when it comes to these types of figures. It's a shame I'm not into more of the Captain Dino figures because I feel like it'd be cool to have an entire team of these guys, but with the exception of him and Brachio Cannon, I'm just not feeling the other ones. But anyway, almost forgot. I wanted to touch on this real quick. Yes, he's parts for me. Yes, he's got, limited posability. But you know what he doesn't have? Kibble. Look at how clean this back is. Not only how clean, but the fact that it reveals entirely new details, like this black spine section that goes around and actually goes all the way around almost to the front of the figure. This silver bit up here, like you only see this in robot mode. This is actually covered by the forearms when they form the back of the Stegosaurus. That is super great. I guess arguably there is kibble on this guy because he has the plates hanging off his forearms and he has like these, feet on his shoulders, but like they're part of the shoulders. These are part of the forearms. He's big, he's cool looking. Yes, he's got limited posability. Yes, he does parts form, but despite all of that, he is a shockingly clean robot mode. But anyway, I'm done rambling, I promise. That is enough about what I think of Geomecha Captain Dino 03 Stegotank. I might have the order of those words wrong. I don't know. I don't care enough to make sure. What do you all think of Stegotank? Have any of you out there heard of the Geomecha stuff before, or the Captain Dino stuff? Have any of you out there watched the TV shows at all? And if you are familiar with Captain Dino, which one is your favorite of the 5, I believe? I'm pretty sure there's 5. Yeah, there's 5. Which one is your favorite? So there's, my apologies if I get the order wrong, but I don't remember the numbers associated with all of them. There's the T-Rex, the Pteranodon, which they might call a pterodactyl, but is totally a pteranodon, because that's science. The Stegosaurus, Brachiosaurus, and Raptor, which I believe is supposed to be a Velociraptor. And what the heck, let's have a discussion about parts forming. How do you all feel about parts forming? Because I've made my thoughts on the matter totally clear, but I do understand there are some people who see parts forming as an absolute no-go, and other people who don't mind it at all. I imagine there are also people who have a similar approach to it as I do. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any of those things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.